my name is Jenny. Today we'll learn about using vocabulary for describing data. So why is it important to describe data? It's useful because it's a common task at university and you might need this skill later on in your working life. Here's a piece of data. Let's look at this graph about the sales of cars in 2019. What happened to the sales of cars? We can use verbs to help us with this. Can you think of some verbs to describe what happened over the year? Because the line is going up and up and up, you can use verbs like increased, rose, went up, and grew. So even though all these words have the same meaning, you need to think of many ways of describing the same thing so that your writing is interesting. Do you think it's enough to say that there was a rise in sales in 2019? Probably not. It doesn't say much and it makes for a boring description. We can make this more interesting by adding information to this. What sort of rise was it? We could use the help of adjectives. These are describing words to give more information to make our description more interesting. Can you think of some adjectives to describe this action? How would you describe the rise in sales? You could use adjectives like dramatic, sharp, significant, substantial, and considerable. So if we go back to our sentence, there was a rise in car sales in 2019, and we add an adjective, our sentence would tell us more. There was a dramatic rise in car sales. There was a sharp rise in car sales. There was a substantial rise in car sales. In this section, let's look at how we can use adverbs to describe data. Here, I have a subject and a choice of verbs to describe the data, but what word form can I put after the verb? Can I put an adjective here? Sales of cars grew dramatic? That does not sound right, so no. To describe the action of the verb, what do we need to use? We need to put an adverb here. Let's change these adjectives into adverbs. What are the adverbs for these adjectives? Take a moment to think about that. Here are the adverb forms of these adjectives. Dramatically, sharp, sharply, significant, significantly, substantial, substantially, considerable, considerably. What do the adverbs have in common? You probably noticed that they all end in ly. When you're composing a sentence, one combination to remember is subject, verb, adverb. Say it with me. Subject, verb, adverb. That's a mini chant for you to help you construct your sentence. There's also another combination that you can use. There was a plus adjective plus noun. You could start your sentence with the phrase, there was a, and then add an adjective, and then add a noun. There was a, adjective, noun. Say it with me. There was a, adjective, noun. That's another mini chant for you there. Can you change some of the verbs that we thought of before into nouns? Did you come up with the same as me? Increased and increase. Rose, a rise. Grew, a growth. And went up can't be changed into a noun. So now you can combine these words to make a variety of sentences about what happened to the sales of cars in 2019. Sales of cars increased dramatically. This sentence uses the subject plus verb plus adverb structure. There was a sharp rise in car sales. This sentence uses the there was a plus adjective plus noun structure. Okay, so now it's your turn. You might want to use a pen and paper. Let's look at what happened to the sales of cars in 2020. How many verbs can you think of to describe what happened to the sales of cars in 2020? I've got 5 here. They are fell, decreased, declined, dropped, and went down. How many did you think of? Okay, now, can you think of some adverbs to describe this fall? Here's what I thought of. Gradually, steadily, and somewhat. What about you? Maybe you have some others. Remember, it's important to be accurate when you look at the data. The angle of this fall is quite different to the angle for 2019. Can you see that? So we have gradually rather than dramatically. What about this fall? It's different to the other one, isn't it? What do you think might be different about it? And what adverbs can you think of to describe it? I thought of slightly, marginally, gradually, steadily, and somewhat. What about you? Let's bring back our verb list. We now need to change these verbs into nouns so that we have even more ways to describe what happened to the data. Do you know what the nouns are for these verbs? Did you think of these? A fall, a decrease, a decline, a drop. There isn't a noun for went down. What about changing these adverbs into adjectives? Have a go. Did you get gradual, steady, slight, and marginal? But take note, you can't change somewhat. Now you can make even more sentences by combining these words, which is excellent. Don't forget to recall our mini chants. What sentences did you come up with? Here's what I came up with. Sales of cars decline steadily. This sentence uses the subject, verb, adverb combination. There was a gradual fall in car sales. This sentence uses the there was a, adjective, noun structure. You now have learnt the different ways to describe data. Great job. This will help you to avoid repetition and your writing will stay interesting and not bore your reader or you. Just remember to look closely at the graph and be accurate in your description of it. Also, remember that there's a difference between a slight rise, a gradual rise, and a dramatic rise. So make sure you choose the correct adjective or adverb to describe what is happening to the data. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to be descriptive when looking at data. And don't forget your mini chants. They're going to help you communicate your ideas in a clear and interesting way. Bye.